I thought refusing to sign a mortgage was my right, until my blood stained that very document. My brother-in-law didn't say a word. He just punched. My sister looked at me lying on the floor and said, "You deserved it." But what happened at the police station even made the officers shake their heads. My family had chosen money over my blood. Have you ever been betrayed by the people closest to you? And when I collapsed at my parents' door, growing up, I always thought Patricia and I were the perfect sisters. Sure, she was 8 years older, but that just meant she looked out for me. When she married Kevin Wilson 5 years ago, I was her maid of honor. Kevin always called me his adorable little sister-in-law and made sure to include me in family gatherings. Every Sunday dinner, every holiday, every celebration, we were inseparable. Kevin worked in construction management, Patricia taught elementary school, and they seemed to have their life figured out. They'd been renting the same apartment for 3 years, talking endlessly about buying their dream house. "Rebecca," Kevin would say, passing me the mashed potatoes, "when we get our house, you'll have your own room for whenever you visit." I believed in that perfect family image. I believed Kevin genuinely cared about me. I believed my sister had my back no matter what. Last month, when Kevin invited me over for coffee and said he had something important to discuss, I expected maybe a pregnancy announcement or plans for their anniversary. "Rebecca, you're the only person we trust with financial matters," Kevin said, sliding a manila envelope across their kitchen table. "We found the perfect house, and we need you to witness some paperwork." Patricia beamed from the kitchen counter. "It's a beautiful 3-bedroom in Maplewood. You're going to love it." But when I opened the envelope and started reading, my stomach dropped. I wasn't looking at witness papers. I was looking at mortgage guarantee documents. They wanted me to co-sign as a guarantor for $450,000. Have you ever discovered you were being deceived at the last minute? "Kevin, this isn't witness paperwork," I said carefully, trying to keep my voice steady. "This is asking me to guarantee your mortgage." The room went quiet. Patricia stopped loading the dishwasher. Kevin's smile flickered. "Well, yeah," he said, like it was obvious. "We need a guarantor. The bank requires it." "But my income," I started to explain. "I make $52,000 a year as a graphic designer. I can't guarantee almost $500,000. If something happened and you couldn't pay, I'd lose everything." I know someone has been financially exploited by family before. Kevin looked at me in a way I'd never seen before. The warmth in his eyes disappeared, replaced by something cold and calculating. "Rebecca," Patricia said, her voice taking on an edge, "we're family. Family helps each other. Do you think I should have signed?" Over the next week, the pressure intensified. Patricia called me daily, her tone growing more frustrated each time. "You're being selfish, Rebecca. We've always been there for you." Kevin stopped responding to my text altogether. When I showed up for our usual Sunday dinner, the atmosphere was arctic. "I can't believe how selfish you're being," Patricia said, barely looking up from her plate. "We're not asking you to pay the mortgage. We're just asking for your signature." Kevin sat silent, methodically cutting his steak, but I could feel his anger radiating across the table. Finally, he spoke. "You owe us this." Those 4 words hung in the air like a threat. The Kevin who used to joke with me, who taught me how to change a tire, who called me family, that Kevin was gone. And that's when I realized I'd been living in an illusion. The truth started unraveling 3 days later. Patricia called me, her voice different, desperate, pleading. "Rebecca, I need to tell you something. Kevin and we've had some financial problems. He declared bankruptcy 2 years ago. The bank won't approve us for a mortgage without a guarantor." "Why didn't you tell me this from the beginning?" I asked. "Because we knew you'd say no." Her honesty was like a slap. "But Rebecca, if we don't get this house, we're going to lose the deposit. We've already put down $20,000. Can you guess what else they were hiding from me? But the real amount of debt was even more horrifying. As Patricia kept talking, the full picture emerged. They owed $85,000 in credit card debt. had defaulted on a car loan, and Kevin's bankruptcy wasn't just bad luck, it was from gambling debts. "We've done this before," Patricia admitted. "Kevin's brother co-signed for our car. My friend Linda guaranteed our last apartment lease when we got evicted. Have you ever felt like you were just a pawn in someone else's game?" I stared at myself in Patricia's hallway mirror as she continued talking, and I saw how naive I'd been. The Sunday dinners, the inclusion in family events, Kevin's friendliness. It had all been grooming. They'd been setting me up for this moment for months, maybe years. They threatened to cut me off completely if I didn't sign. "You'll lose your family," Patricia said. "Is that really worth it? Over some paperwork?" The terms had changed. It wasn't "you owe us this" anymore. It was "you owe us everything." Kevin's texts became hostile. "After everything we've done for you, blood is thicker than water unless you're selfish." I decided to go to their house to clear the air once and for all. I bought Patricia's favorite flowers, white lilies, and picked up a coffee cake from the bakery she loved. I was still hoping we could talk this through like adults, like family. I believed that if I explained my position calmly, they'd understand. I was still holding on to the fantasy that the people who claimed to love me would respect my boundaries. Kevin answered the door with bloodshot eyes. The smell of alcohol hit me immediately. Have you ever felt afraid in the home of someone you trusted? "Oh, look who finally decided to show up," he slurred. "The princess who thinks she's too good to help her family." "Kevin, I brought coffee cake. Maybe we can sit down and—" "Sit down?" He laughed bitterly. "You want to sit down? In the apartment we're going to lose because of you." Patricia appeared behind him, and for a moment I thought she might de-escalate the situation. Instead, she looked at me with pure resentment. "You know, Rebecca, Kevin used to get in trouble for fighting when he was younger. I've been keeping him calm, but you're really testing his patience." A wine glass sat shattered on their living room floor from where Kevin had apparently thrown it. The apartment felt charged with violence, like a storm waiting to break. Rebecca had no idea that she was being set up for something much worse. Patricia knew exactly what Kevin was capable of when he drank. She'd hidden his history of domestic violence, including the restraint order his ex-girlfriend had filed 3 years earlier. "Rebecca," Patricia said, her voice eerily calm, "Kevin thinks you're trying to ruin our family, and honestly, I'm starting to agree." "This is what you deserve," Kevin said, and that's when the first punch came flying toward me. I tried to duck, but Kevin's fist caught me on the left side of my face. The impact sent me stumbling backward into their coffee table. I could taste blood immediately. My lip had split against my teeth. "Kevin, stop!" I screamed, but he was already advancing on me. 2 years, he yelled. 2 years we've been planning this. You're not going to ruin it now. Do you think I should have run or tried to record what was happening? Somehow, even as Kevin grabbed my shoulders and shook me violently, I managed to fumble my phone out of my purse and hit record. The video was shaky, pointing mostly at the ceiling, but it was capturing audio. The second punch hit my shoulder so hard I heard something pop. The pain was immediate and overwhelming. He dislocated it. I fell to my knees, and that's when Kevin kicked me in the ribs. "Kevin, that's enough," Patricia said, but she made no move to stop him. She just stood there watching her husband beat her sister. My blood dripped onto their white carpet as I tried to crawl toward the door. In the hallway mirror, I could see my reflection. My face was already swelling, blood running from my nose and split lip. When this pain hits, anyone would collapse. The neighbors must have heard the screaming because suddenly there was pounding on the door. "Police! Open up!" When the officers entered and saw me, face bloody, shoulder clearly dislocated, struggling to breathe from the rib kicks, even they were visibly shaken. "Jesus Christ," one of them muttered. "What the hell happened here?" But then Patricia did something that broke me more than any physical blow could have. As the paramedics worked on me, as I lay there in agony, she looked at the officers and said, Rebecca has always been unstable. She came here drunk and attacked Kevin. He was just defending himself. When the police found what I had recorded, what they saw would shock them even more. But I had evidence they never expected. The phone recording had captured everything: Kevin's threats, Patricia's confession about his violent history, and most damning of all, her words. Show her what happens when she doesn't do what family needs. The recording revealed that Patricia had orchestrated this. She'd encouraged Kevin to teach me a lesson, knowing full well what he was capable of when drunk and angry. She'd set me up. "Ma'am," the officer said to Patricia, his voice hard, "you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit assault." Kevin's face went white as they read him his rights for aggravated assault. As I lay in the ambulance, broken and bleeding, Patricia's final words to me were, "Nobody will believe you planned this." But when I called my parents from the hospital, my mother's voice was cold when she answered, "Rebecca, Patricia already called us. She told us what you did." "Mom, I'm in the hospital. Kevin beat me. I have a dislocated shoulder and—" "Rebecca, stop lying. Patricia said you showed up drunk and violent. I'm disappointed in you." My father got on the phone. "You need to apologize to your sister and Kevin. This family doesn't need your drama." The people who were supposed to protect me had already chosen sides. I was alone in that hospital bed, truly alone for the first time in my life. But the emergency room doctor who treated me believed my story. So did Sarah, the social worker who came to check on me. "This wasn't self-defense," Dr. Martinez said, looking at my x-rays. "These injuries show a sustained assault. And this pattern on your ribs, that's from being kicked while you were down." Sarah helped me contact a lawyer who specialized in domestic violence cases. For the first time since this nightmare began, someone was telling me I deserved justice. "We're going to make them pay for what they did to you," my lawyer said, both of them. As pieces of my life slowly started coming back together, I learned something that changed everything. Patricia had been planning this for over a year. She'd found out about Kevin's violent history before they got married, but stayed with him anyway because she thought she could control it. When they needed a mortgage guarantor, she deliberately triggered his anger toward me. "Your sister has a pattern," the detective told me. "We found evidence that she's manipulated financial situations with other family members and friends. Kevin's not her first weapon. He's just the most effective." And when the video of my assault was leaked on social media by someone in the police department, the community response was swift and brutal. Kevin was fired from his construction job within 24 hours. Patricia was placed on administrative leave from her teaching position. Their dream house fell through and they lost their deposit. Can you see justice being served? Local news picked up the story. The headline read, "Teacher and husband arrested for brutal assault over mortgage guarantee." The comments section was filled with outrage and support for me. But Patricia had been hiding more than Kevin's violence. The investigation revealed she'd been involved in a multi-level marketing scheme that had bilked elderly people out of their savings. The mortgage was just her latest attempt to stay ahead of her debts. Looking in the mirror now, I could see the truth about my family clearly for the first time. We'd never been close. I'd just been useful. Winning the legal battle didn't heal the emotional wounds. Kevin was sentenced to 2 years for aggravated assault. Patricia got 18 months for conspiracy and fraud charges from her MLM scheme. I received a settlement that covered my medical bills and more, but victory felt hollow. "Winning doesn't heal everything," I told my therapist. The hardest part was facing them in court. Patricia looked smaller somehow, defeated. Kevin wouldn't meet my eyes. When the judge asked if I had anything to say before sentencing, I stood up and said, "I lost my family, but I gained something more important, my self-respect. And when I walked out of that courtroom for the last time..." The real shock came when I tried to rebuild my relationship with my parents. I called them after the trial, thinking surely now they'd see the truth. My mother's voice was still cold. "Rebecca, you've torn this family apart. Patricia is in prison because of you. Mom, she conspired to have me beaten. Didn't you watch the news? Didn't you see the evidence? I see a daughter who destroyed her sister's life over money. You could have just signed the papers. My father was even worse. You've always been dramatic, Rebecca. Now you've sent your sister to jail with your lies. They refused to believe the court records, the medical reports, or even the video evidence. In their minds, I was the villain who had provoked Kevin and manipulated the legal system. Can you imagine being completely abandoned by everyone who claimed to love you? That night, I sat in my apartment, the same place where Kevin used to joke about borrowing my tools, where Patricia used to help me cook Sunday dinners, and realized I was truly alone. The family I'd fought so hard to preserve had never really existed, but sometimes the people who save you come from unexpected places. Dr. Martinez, the ER physician who'd treated me, called to check on my recovery. Sarah, the social worker, helped me find a support group for domestic violence survivors. My lawyer, Janet Chen, became more than just legal counsel. She became a friend. "You know what I see when I look at your case?" Janet said during one of our final meetings. "I see someone who refused to be a victim. You recorded evidence while being assaulted. You stood up in court and faced your attackers. That takes incredible strength. For the first time in months, I felt like maybe I could put the pieces of my life back together. Not the old life that was built on lies, but something new and honest. Justice will be served, I thought. But real justice wasn't just the prison sentences. It was rebuilding myself. Then something happened that changed everything. 3 months after the trial, a local news producer reached out to me. Someone had leaked the full video of my assault to social media, and it was going viral. "Rebecca," the producer said, "your story is resonating with thousands of people. Would you consider doing an interview about domestic violence and financial abuse?" The video had been viewed over 2 million times. The comments were overwhelming. Hundreds of people sharing their own stories of family betrayal, financial manipulation, and domestic violence. My brother-in-law did the same thing to me. I signed papers I shouldn't have because family pressured me. This could have been me. Are you watching justice unfold in real time? Within a week, Kevin lost his new job at a different construction company. Patricia's teaching license was revoked permanently. Their former landlord evicted them from the apartment they'd been staying in during the trial. The viral video had consequences I never expected. Kevin's ex-girlfriend, the one who'd filed the restraint order, came forward with her own story. 2 other women who dated him also spoke up about his violent behavior. Patricia knew, one of them told the reporter. She knew exactly what kind of man she was married to. Looking back now, I could see the truth clearly. Patricia hadn't just hidden Kevin's violence, she'd weaponized it. I wasn't her first victim, I was just the most convenient one. But the spotlight brought new challenges. Strangers recognized me at the grocery store. Some were supportive, but others blamed me for ruining Kevin and Patricia's lives. The attention was overwhelming. My therapist helped me understand something crucial. Winning in court doesn't automatically heal trauma. Your body still remembers the fear. Your mind still processes the betrayal. She was right. I had nightmares about that day. Loud noises made me flinch. I couldn't trust people's motives anymore. Victory felt hollow when I was still broken inside. The settlement money felt like blood money. I'd won $180,000. But what was the price of losing my entire family? Then I made a decision that surprised everyone, including myself. I used most of the settlement money to start a nonprofit organization for domestic violence survivors who'd been betrayed by family members. From survival to service became our motto. We helped people who'd been financially abused by relatives, who'd been isolated from support systems, who'd been gaslit into believing they were the problem. The first person I helped was a young woman named Maria, whose father had forced her to co-sign for his business loans, then threatened her when she tried to set boundaries. I thought I was crazy. she told me during our first meeting. He made me feel like wanting to protect my credit was selfish. You're not crazy, I told her, and you're not alone. But even as I was helping others heal, I struggled with my own recovery. The viral attention had brought unwanted consequences. Patricia's friends harassed me online. Kevin's family sent threatening messages. Some people accused me of exploiting my trauma for attention. One particularly vicious comment stayed with me. She destroyed her family for internet fame. The trolls got to me more than I wanted to admit. Some days, I wondered if my parents were right. Had I been too harsh? Should I have just signed the papers and kept the peace? My therapist helped me work through these doubts. Trauma survivors often blame themselves, she explained. It's easier to believe you had control over what happened than to accept that people you trusted could be so cruel. The hardest part was the loneliness. I'd cut contact with my parents completely. Patricia and Kevin were in prison. The extended family had taken sides, and most chose Patricia. Holidays were the worst. No invitations, no family gatherings, no shared traditions. But slowly, something beautiful started happening. The people I was helping through my nonprofit became a new kind of family. Maria introduced me to her support group. Janet, my lawyer, invited me to her family's Thanksgiving. Dr. Martinez and his wife included me in their book club. Family isn't just blood, Sarah the social worker told me. Family is the people who show up for you when you need them most. That's when I realized something profound. I hadn't lost my family in that assault. I discovered who my real family was. And they weren't the people who shared my DNA. 6 months after the viral video, I received a letter in prison mail. It was from Patricia. Rebecca, I've had time to think about what I did. I was desperate about the money, but that doesn't excuse it. I knew Kevin had anger problems. I knew what would happen if I pushed him the right way. I used you, and I used him. I'm sorry. The letter continued for 3 pages. Patricia detailed how she'd manipulated the situation, how she'd planned to pressure me into signing, how she'd deliberately triggered Kevin's violence when I refused. I told him you thought you were better than us. I told him you were trying to ruin our future. I knew he'd react violently, and I let it happen because I thought it would scare you into compliance. Reading her confession, I felt something I didn't expect: pity. Patricia had destroyed her own life for money that wouldn't have solved any of her real problems anyway. The letter ended with a request. I don't expect forgiveness, but could we maybe talk? I miss my sister. For weeks, I stared at that letter. Part of me wanted to write back, to try to salvage something from the wreckage of our relationship. But my therapist helped me see clearly. What would you be salvaging? She asked. The relationship was built on her ability to manipulate you. If you take that away, what's left? I never wrote back to Patricia, but I kept the letter as a reminder of how manipulation works. Slowly, subtly, wrapped in the language of love and family obligation. Then came the moment that changed everything. 1 year after the assault, I was giving a speech at a domestic violence conference when I saw him in the audience. Kevin. He'd been released early for good behavior. My heart started racing. My palms got sweaty. For a moment, I was back in that apartment, tasting blood, feeling helpless. But then I looked around the room. I saw Maria in the front row, giving me an encouraging nod. I saw Janet in the back, ready to intervene if needed. I saw dozens of survivors who'd found strength through our organization. I had a choice to make. I could let fear control me, or I could finish what I started. Healing is my victory, I thought, and continued my speech. After the presentation, Kevin approached me. 2 security guards moved closer, but I held up my hand. Rebecca, he said quietly. I wanted to apologize. What I did was inexcusable. I was drunk, I was angry, but that's no excuse for violence. He looked different, thinner, older, broken in a way that went beyond physical. Prison had changed him. I've been in anger management, he continued. I'm in AA. I'm trying to be better. I know I can never undo what I did, but I wanted you to know that I take full responsibility. For a moment, I studied his face. There was no manipulation there, no hidden agenda, just genuine remorse. "Thank you for saying that," I told him, "but my forgiveness isn't something you can earn. It's something I choose for my own peace." "I understand," he said. I'm sorry for all of it." After he left, I realized something profound had happened. I wasn't afraid anymore, not of him, not of Patricia, not of the family that had rejected me. I'd found something stronger than fear: purpose. The organization had grown beyond my wildest dreams. We'd helped over 200 people escape financial abuse situations. We'd lobbied for new laws protecting domestic violence survivors from economic manipulation. We'd changed lives. But the biggest change was in me. The woman who'd once been desperate for family approval, who'd believed she owed her relatives unlimited loyalty, was gone. In her place was someone who understood that love without respect isn't love at all. 2 years after the assault, I received an unexpected call. It was my father. "Rebecca?" His voice was shaky. "I've been reading about your organization, about the work you're doing." I waited, not sure what to expect. "Your mother and we were wrong. We saw the interview you did last month, and we heard what Patricia said about planning the whole thing. We should have believed you from the beginning." The apology I'd waited 2 years to hear finally came. But it felt different than I'd expected. I wasn't angry anymore, but I wasn't ready to pretend everything was fine either. "Dad, I appreciate you calling, but I need you to understand something. You didn't just fail to believe me. You actively chose my abuser's side. That hurt more than the physical assault." "I know," he said quietly. "We were scared of losing Patricia, too. We thought if we stayed neutral—" "There is no neutral when someone is being abused," I interrupted. "Silence always favors the abuser." We talked for an hour. He told me about the guilt he and my mother had been carrying, about how they'd watched my interviews and finally understood what really happened. Can we try to rebuild something?" he asked. "Maybe," I said. "But it has to be different this time. I won't accept conditional love anymore. I won't be the family peacekeeper, and I won't pretend that blood relation gives anyone the right to abuse me." "I understand," he said. "We'd like to support your organization, not to buy forgiveness, but because we believe in what you're doing." It was a start, not a magical reconciliation, but an honest acknowledgement of what had been broken and what might be possible to rebuild. 3 months later, I got another letter from Patricia. She was scheduled for release in 6 months and wanted to know if we could meet. "I've changed, Rebecca. I've been in therapy. I understand now how toxic my behavior was. Could we maybe start over?" This time I didn't agonize over the decision. I wrote back immediately, "Patricia, I'm glad you're getting help. I hope you find peace and healing. But I won't be part of your recovery journey. The sister you're missing never really existed. She was just a version of me that was convenient for your needs. I wish you well, but from a distance." It felt powerful to set that boundary clearly and kindly. I wasn't cutting her off in anger. I was protecting my peace in wisdom. The organization continued to grow. We opened a second location. I wrote a book about financial abuse that became a bestseller. I started dating again, carefully, with clear boundaries, but with hope. Most importantly, I learned to trust my instincts. When someone showed me who they were, I believed them the first time. When relationships felt one-sided, I addressed it immediately. When people tried to use guilt or family obligation to manipulate me, I walked away. Last month, I received a call that brought everything full circle. A young woman named Ashley had seen my viral video and needed help. Her brother-in-law was pressuring her to co-sign for a business loan, and her sister was calling her selfish for hesitating. "I feel like I'm going crazy," Ashley told me. "They're making me feel guilty for protecting my credit." "You're not crazy," I told her, "and you're not alone. Let me tell you about some options." As I helped Ashley navigate her situation, I realized this was my purpose. Not to be the perfect daughter or sister who never caused waves, but to be the voice for people who were being silenced by family manipulation. Your story will end however you choose to write it. Mine ends with the understanding that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away from toxic people, even when they share your DNA. Sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the family you're born into. Sometimes healing means accepting that some relationships can't be saved. And sometimes the greatest victory isn't getting revenge. It's building a life so fulfilling that your abusers become irrelevant to your happiness. From survival to service, from victim to victor, from broken to beautiful. That's how my story ends. How will yours begin?